Okay. And I don't know if people know this, but I got myself in trouble with taxes. I would have done it again, maybe a little bit differently, but not much, because I did set up a PLLC, which is super important. I didn't really understand to set up not just the PLLC, but the S Corp, which makes a huge difference because that will save you, I think, looking back on it, would have been about $20,000 a year on self employment taxes.
Mm.
So I will say get a really good accountant. Okay. For as much as people should have realtors when they buy a house. We have our own business. Get yourself a good accountant. Because if you don't get yourself a good accountant, at some point you might also need a good tax attorney. And so I will say that because I knew that my daughter would not take on all the debt if we weren't able to help her make it through law school.
Mm.
Okay. We moved during COVID. She graduated during COVID from undergrad. And then she couldn't get a job and law school. I mean, prepare her for her life. You guys all know how
Yeah.
important my daughter is. So I ignored the IRS. For 4 years, I had a commitment to her to pay her rent, her car insurance, and her phone. And in the Boston area, that was about $3,000 a month. And that started. And so I was finishing that in April. In May, because we moved in COVID, I realized that the IRS had been sending notices to my old house and I
Mm.
wasn't getting them. And so there was a lien on my property and they took my passport away. They
Oh,
said, like, "Hope you don't plan on going anywhere." So, it was really a stressful time before we went to Italy because actually I got out, my tax attorney said, "Yeah, the State Department doesn't always pay attention to that, so you can go." But at the end of the day, I didn't realize if you don't file your taxes, there's a from what you would owe, okay,
mm,
there's a
mm,
25% penalty for not filing.
mm,
So if you didn't file, you also didn't pay. There's an additional 25% penalty for not having paid. And then you add on interest.
right. It adds
Okay.
up.
And it adds up. And if for some reason you didn't get notices because they don't care, they found the address to put a lien on the property, but they couldn't mail me the notice. 'Cause I was like, "Oh, I'll get notices, I'll fix it when I get notices." So I finished helping my daughter with law school in April. In May, I got a notice of a lien, and so I was like, "Oh," and then talked to the IRS, which of course took me a while to I went in there, they can't talk to you, you had to go online, make an appointment, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I was able to leave and then come back, but at the end of the day, Jeremy Schachter with Fairway Mortgage was my hero because I had such good equity in my property. And this is where Zillow does help. They did an assessment online.
Mm,
So I did a HELOC because my
yeah.
tax attorney said, apply for a second. You're not going to get it because there's a lien on your property, but you can at least say you tried.
Mm,
Well, so I hope this doesn't hurt Jeremy, but I hope it helps him because my tax attorney has sent people to him already. Is I went online, I applied for the HELOC. I did put Jeremy in my confidence and say, look, if it comes up declined, I know I got myself into trouble, right? They used an online assessment tool for the valuation of my house, which increased it. By the way, the IRS also uses Zillow. So because I live next to a fancier neighborhood, they inflated my
mm.
value by about $200,000.
Oh, nice.
But it helped with my HELOC, and I have an 835 credit score, so I was able to get a, HELOC and pay off all my taxes. So I am a
Wow.
born again.
So when you went through the tax attorney, did they save any of the money from what was owed and the penalties and things like that?
Well, you were only guaranteed 1 year, so we're still seeing whether they will, because basically helping your kid have a good life doesn't
Mhm.
count. They don't care. If people died, you lost your job, like something like that, they might care. They will give you a one-time penalty abatement for 1 year. But other than that, generally not. But my tax attorney said, let's try write up your story. So that's where we are. Have all my taxes paid off. We're waiting on them to determine what the final penalties will be and then to
Right.
truly give me my passport
Right.
back.